It's happened. Terrorism hits Melbourne as 6 bombs explode, injuring 21 people. Good evening and welcome to Network 10 viewers around Australia. The lunchtime attack on the eve of Easter came in a series of explosions around the Russell Street Police Headquarters and just across the road from the City Magistrates Court and City Watchhouse buildings. A policewoman is among the seriously injured. She has burns to 80% of her body, and Magistrate Ian West was among those injured. The explosions left the top end of the city in chaos, as it took some time for the impact of the attack to be realised. And tonight, Victoria's Police Deputy Commissioner of Operations, Keith Thompson, said today's attack placed Melbourne at the forefront of world terrorism. The area around police headquarters remains cordoned off. Brian Schrouder starts our coverage of the horror city bombings.
Russell Street was thrown into a scene of mass panic by the blast. The first explosion went off just before 1 o'clock when a car blew up outside the police headquarters. Eyewitness News cameras were first on the scene.
Well, just a few minutes ago, a car bomb exploded outside the police station here in Russell Street. There was the sound of one massive explosion. We were sitting in our office, our Eyewitness News office, just around the corner. The glass was shattered in the windows of our office. After that, there were several more explosions, the sound of probably fuel in the car exploding. Russell Street was in a complete state of chaos for seconds. Russell Street was in a state of chaos. Policemen, policewomen were screaming. Everybody was in a state of complete hysteria.
19 people in the busy lunchtime crowd were injured. 2 police officers and a passerby are in a serious condition. 3 cars were destroyed in the 6 explosions. There was massive damage to nearby buildings. Russell Street was covered in a thick cloud of black smoke. After receiving a phone call saying there was a second bomb, police moved crowds back. The entire northern part of the city was evacuated, south to Burke Street and north to Queensbury Street. The city was brought to a standstill. The police dog squad and army disposal experts made an intensive search of all the vehicles parked in the area. All that was left of the first bombed car was a twisted, burning wreck. Fire brigade officers say there may have been 2 bombs planted. Police found gelignite in a detonator lying in Russell Street near the blast. So far, police have no idea of a motive for the bombing. Brian Schrouder, Eyewitness News.
On the eve of the Easter break, thousands more people than usual were in the city and caught in the panic. People walked around dazed, knowing nothing and bewildered by the screams around them. Reporter Elise O'Neill was one of the thousands caught up in the terror.
I was standing out in Mackenzie Street, just around the corner from Russell, when the first explosion hit. Like an earth tremor, the buildings shook and the windows all around us shattered. As we rushed onto the street, debris started flying all over the place, almost hitting most of us. First thing we saw were people pouring out of the buildings. There was one woman dragged off with bleeding legs. The crowd seemed to gather from nowhere, but they were being pushed further and further back. The Special Operations Group people moved in. Every car was a potential bomb and they had to check them all. Everybody was being pushed further and further away out into the city streets. Russell, Exhibition and Swanston Streets were all evacuated. Russell Street Police Headquarters was cleared, as was the City Watchhouse. With today being the eve of the Easter break, many more people than usual were in town and trapped in the horror. Nobody knew exactly what had happened, only that it was something terrible.
I was on the first floor at Russell Street.
What did you hear or see?
Just a very loud bang, glass breaking, and a lot of people screaming.
How did you get injured yourself?
Oh, just from falling glass.
Well, all I heard was this big explosion, so I just automatically ran outside to see what was happening.
And what about you?
Well, I was facing the window and I heard the huge explosion and the window just shook, the glass panel just moved. It was just like a gas explosion.
And how frightened were you?
Very frightened. It was a very powerful explosion.
A lot of wreckage and debris over the road. There was a car on fire. Injured persons An injured police being helped to the steps of the front of the Russell Street Police Complex.
As if the building was taking off and then crashed back down to the ground again.
The city remained in a state of virtual terror all afternoon as police reported telephone threats of more bombs in the area. Everything was treated as a potential explosive and evacuations extended into the Carlton area. This evening, the city remains in chaos. Streets are still closed, peak hour traffic in some areas has been brought almost to a standstill, and it's expected to be several hours before things are back to normal. Elisa O'Neill, Eyewitness News.
Victims of the explosions were immediately rushed by ambulance to Melbourne's major hospitals.
A family of 3 was injured by the blast, which also put an end to their hopes of moving into a new house for Easter. Jennifer Hansen reports.
The number of injured as a result of the bomb blasts is now estimated to be 21. A policewoman received burns to 80% of her body and is one of the most critically injured victims. Stipendiary Magistrate Ian West was also injured, but it's not yet known how severely. 3 policemen were admitted to St Vincent's Hospital, treated for cuts, including one officer who may need an operation to remove glass from his eye. During the chaos, one policewoman even threw herself over a colleague to protect him from further injury. While here at the Royal Melbourne Hospital, 7 patients have been admitted as a result of the bomb explosions. 5 suffered minor injuries with cuts and abrasions, and 2 are in a serious condition, one with burns, the other with fractures. John Bannon, his wife and 2-year-old son Jay were in Russell Street when the bombs exploded.
Well, there was 3 cars parked across the road, and then there was this almighty explosion, and one of the cars just burst into flame and showered us with sort of debris and everything else, and with that it sort of threw us against the wall and down on the ground. And I think one of the guards of the car came down on top of Jenny's head, sort of hit the wall and bounced off and gashed all the shoulder and that. And Jay was wandering around, he hit the ground, so we threw him to the ground. I don't know, it was just like a big fireball.
It's a double tragedy for the Bannon family, who today expected to move into a new flat ready for Easter. However, they were on their way to pick up keys to the new apartment when the string of explosions began. Now the estate agency is closed, as are transport companies.
Just a matter of where to live now for the weekend, because of what's happened. As I said, we're shifting at 12 o'clock today, but when this happened, well, it bombed out those plans, you know.
The start to a new life for the Bannon family has been shattered, and even young Jay knows why.
As Melbourne reels in shock, Deputy Commissioner of Operations for the Victoria Police, Keith Thompson, says Melbourne has been thrust to the forefront of world terrorism.
Mr Thompson says a large squad of police has been assigned to the case, and national intelligence services have been called in to examine the whole range of people who may be suspect.
It's now some 4 hours later after the bomb blasts, and police are now trying to assess exactly what happened. Just a few moments ago, Mr Thompson held a press conference.
Well, what are your theories now?
Well, we don't have any real theories at this point. We've got a lot of facts. We don't have a lot of theories.
What are the facts?
The facts are the car exploded outside Russell Street and it's done an enormous amount of damage.
Found any other devices?
There have been no other devices found. Well, we don't know that. All we've got left with at the moment is a heap of debris, and we've got experts looking at that now. And when that's done, we'll know more about that.
Have you established how many car bombs there were?
Well, that's difficult to say at this particular point in time, but I believe what has happened is that there's been a primary explosion, and it hasn't exploded all the devices, and they've gone off successively after the primary explosion. But that's only a theory at this time. When the experts have looked, we'll know more about it.
Any connection with a court case on at the Magistrates' Court?
No, there's been no conclusions arrived at anything yet. The detectives
Davis Street, Kew. It was 2:30 p.m. on Thursday, the 10th of February. A pawnbroker had found a device on the front seat of his car and thought it might have been a practical joke. But this was no joke. Just last year, a bomb went off outside the Melbourne Coroner's Court, this time with no injuries, and also last year a mysterious explosion at a house in Caulfield. But perhaps the largest chapter written in Australia's history of outrages concerns the family court and family court judges. The first, Judge David Opus, gunned to death outside his Wallara home in June 1980. Then Justice Richard G., whose Belrose home was blown apart in early March 1984. The Parramatta Family Law Court was badly damaged by a bomb blast in the following month. And then in July 84, possibly the worst of the Family Law Court attacks. The wife of 61-year-old Family Court Judge Justice Ray Watson was killed. The family's Greenwich apartment was shaken to the foundations by a bomb triggered to explode as the front door was opened. Although a member of our family law judiciary had been the target, his wife became the innocent victim. But today's attack, although not an isolated incident, stands out as this city's first senseless terrorist action directed at the public at large. Not yet the streets of Beirut, but a big step closer to the madness. That madness that we thought lurked only beyond our shores.
Now, after this break, other stories making news today. Police Minister Race Matthews accused of misleading Parliament over the threatened closure of 25 police stations.
And on this eve of the Easter holiday break, the annual rush to get out of town is on. Details on the police crackdown against Easter Road abusers after this break.
And problems for air travellers too, with a refuellers dispute disrupting timetables.